Hey guys, what is up? Hope you're doing fine. And today in this video, it is gonna be different because I'm gonna teach you all about computer basics. So what you need to know about computers. So first of all, we can understand that what basic here is not basic as in beginning, but it's an abbreviation for beginners all-purpose symbolic instruction code. So this is a step toward the journey or the step toward your destination. Let's say that this is for the beginners purposes, and it will be in a simple term, so make sure you listen very carefully and make sure you understand, grab your attention to this video, and let's get started. Okay, first we're gonna talk about the role of computers. So as nowadays we live in the 21st generation, so we pretty much see computer system everywhere. If we talk about in business and industries, in publication field, in education field, in government organization, in medical field, in science field, and in entertainment field. So this play the most important part of computer. I mean, which use computer the most in business. If you compare in business and industries, without computer, without a machine, then their industries won't function. Let's say that. And in publication, especially, you have if you talk about DTP, desktop publishing, you need a computer system to design in everything and every ways. So if you talk in educational field also now, the government implement every school must have computer, must teach this new method so that the student will learn easily. So I hope you understand what by this in government organization, in medical field, in science field, and in entertainment field. So before we start going further, I just want to know there will be 2 or 3 parts of this video so that you won't feel bored listening to it. Make sure you check it. I'll be giving an update, so make sure you don't forget that hit that subscribe button down below and also turn on the notification bell icon that you'll be getting an update. So let's go. First, let's talk about the parts of computer. Okay, if we speak particularly, we understand that this is mouse, this is keyboard, this is speakers, right? That's the best, that's easy thing to say. But theoretically, if we speak, so here they won't say this is keyboard. If you just say what is the input devices, most of us confused by the input devices because we don't understand. We plug it, that's why it's called input device. So if you compare that to a speaker, also to a monitor, also we plug, most of us confused about that. But today I'm gonna make sure you understand. Input devices is the device which you input. Example, in a mouse. So in a mouse, once you plug it in your computer or in your desktop, in your laptop, so what you did with the mouse, that's why it's called input devices. When you scroll inside, it will be inside your desktop, it will be inside your monitor, not outside. So that is why it called input devices. Example I give here, like keyboard and mouse. So for keyboard also, if I type here, it will display, it will function on inside. First it will convert into binary or into machine learning language, and then it will, that is 0 and 1, basically it's on and off. So from that it will work. So that means we input the devices, we input the data using a keyboard. So what about output devices like monitor, speaker? So when we play with the input devices, we click on, let's give an example like a video. We open the video using a mouse. By clicking on that mouse, we open it up, and then what we see outside, what we hear outside, that's called output devices. Like speaker, when we play a sound, then the sound is coming outside, not inside. So that's what it called output devices, which produce everything outside. So next we're gonna talk about the CPU, which is also the memory of computer. So different system have different CPU, different generation. So we have iCore. If we talk about 7, 9, that's the latest generation. And if we talk about Core 2 Atom, there's a lot of memory actually. So what central processing unit did is it is the brain of a computer. Without the CPU, computer won't even function. So everything we did is working inside the CPU. So next, let's talk about motherboard. So motherboard actually is a board which is known as a circuit board. In other term, motherboard actually is like a house which you store everything, not the housing of a computer. That's the what we think about the casing or the housing we call it. Motherboard is like a house. Imagine your house, then you store everything inside the house. So that's a motherboard. It's like acting like a mother, but then word itself, motherboard, we understand that everything is under it. So next we talk about the expansion card. This one is different. We talk about, as you can see here, there's a video card, sound card, and network interface card. So what actually this is, most of the system in laptop, especially we don't see the video card, the sound card, because it was in bulk. So this is mostly you can see this in a PC. That is a computer system, that is a monitor, big monitor with a CPU, not a laptop. So expansion card is that when you input in, the one you insert it by yourself, or you make the company insert it for you, or in the other term, the one who install your system install it for you. So that's what sound card is all about. Next we have hard drive and hard drive port and connection. So here we have USB, firewire, etc. So what I mean by port is, you see there's a port that which is called a dock. It's like a dock hole which you insert your pen drive into, or be the hard drive, your firewire, or your RJ47. But this one is talk particularly about the hard drive port connection. So for connection, mostly you connect using an RJ47. Every system has this port so that you're able to connect internet. For the system who doesn't have Wi-Fi connection. So that is about the part of the computer. So let's go next. Here you can see the image of the input devices. We have the mouse here. This is actually a wireless mouse, and this is a keyboard, this is a microphone, and this is a scanner, and this is a webcam. Next, okay, now we talk about the output devices. This is a monitor. As you can see here, it displays outside not inside, so that's why it is an output device. If you talk about printer, so when you print a paper, it comes outside. That's why it's output devices. The speaker also, it's the same thing. When you play a song, the song you played it, that you hear it outside. So that's why it is output devices. Just take the term that output means outside, input means inside, so it'll be easy to understand. So next, we talk about the CPU. So I'm going to read this a bit, hope you'll understand it. What is the CPU? It is a device that interprets and runs the commands that you give to the computer. So what it means that when you command your system that you mean to create folder, it runs directly into a central processing unit, so that it will act as a server to respond back to you. But the term of the CPU is a processor. If you might confuse what is a CPU, most of us confuse a CPU. We think that the CPU consists of the whole casing. That's not a CPU. We call that a CPU because there's only one particular thing there is named after. It's not the whole casing thing. That's why it is called as a processor. So because it's process everything. So we have the two major brands here, that is Intel and AMD. Example, as you can see here, I've already said before, It supports like Intel Core 2 Duo, AMD, Radeon, Thurion, and a lot